Hey Redken Tribe, Jordan Woodward here, Redken Educator in Atlanta, Georgia. Do you ever have those guests that are asking for those soft, natural, lived-in hair colors? And we grab for Shades EQ for shadow roots, but do you ever feel lost when it comes to formulation or just need some inspiration? Today, we're gonna break down tips and tricks on how you can maximize your Shades EQ gloss and cream with shadow rooting, as well as give you a couple of my favorite formulas for Shades EQ shadow rooting. Let's take a look. There's so many shades to choose from the Shades EQ gloss and Shades EQ cream palettes to create beautiful shadow roots. But where to begin? My favorite place to start is first and foremost determining the level. My favorite way to formulate a shadow root, and a great starting place when it comes to formulating Shades EQ shadow roots, is formulating one level lighter than the natural level. Imagine if my guest has a natural level 5, if I then apply a Shades EQ shadow root at a level 6, that transition becomes effortless and seamless. Do you ever feel like you want a little extra depth or creaminess in your shadow root formulations? My favorite tool in my toolbox for Shades EQ shadow roots when my guests want some depth and saturation is Shades EQ cream. Shades EQ cream gives us an array of opportunities in the palette choice. My favorite is the NA series, which is a beautiful, cool, natural ash series. Think of it like Shades EQ cream being a cream lip gloss. That cream lip gloss allows me to have extra moisture and saturation on my palette, just like Shades EQ cream. Shades EQ cream is an amazing go-to for us behind the chair and awesome for my guests when I want deep, rich, saturated results. Let's take a look at some swatches to see the difference between Shades EQ cream and Shades EQ gloss. Let's take a look. Shades EQ gloss is translucent. That's what we love about it when it comes to shadow rooting. However, if we're going more than 2 levels darker with our Shades EQ shadow roots, a hot tip is to incorporate a little bit of warmth in your formula to create a nice balanced canvas and add some depth. My favorite go-to with these formulas is adding a little bit of NB to my formula. NB in Shades EQ gloss is a red-violet undertone with a brown to tan background. It's a very balanced, nice, warm-ish neutral that provides my shadow root with the warmth that it needs to create depth and long-lasting results. And last but not least, our last hot tip when it comes to Shades EQ shadow roots is going to be our processing time and how wet or dry the hair is when I apply it. Have you ever cleaned up a wet mess with a wet sponge? Yeah, how does that go? It just smears it around and that sponge is not able to accept the mess because that sponge is already fully saturated. Shades EQ acts the same way. When we apply Shades EQ to a damp or wet canvas, I may compromise the saturation and longevity of my pigmentation simply because it needs a drier canvas to absorb the true benefits and saturation of Shades EQ. The longer I leave my formula on my canvas, the better results that I get. So a hot tip for you is get that hair as dry as possible and let it sit for as long as possible when we really want Shades EQ to show up and give me the depth and longevity that I or my guest is looking for behind the chair. Let's take a look at some swatches so we can see the differences on wet, dry, and damp hair so that we can see the results and be creative behind the chair. Would you like some foolproof formulas when it comes to Shades EQ shadow roots? Get your pen and paper ready because we're about to show you some swatches with some of my personal effortless Shades EQ shadow root formulations. Let's take a look. I want to thank each of you for your time today. Thank you for hanging out and diving into the ins and the outs of Shades EQ Shadow Roots. Make sure to check me out on Instagram at redkenedu_Jordan for even more formulation inspiration. I look forward to seeing you guys soon, and Redken loves you.